Olá a todos, eu sou o Fernando Ribeiro, vocalista dos Moonspell, e vocês estão a ouvir a Cigar City Radio.
Cigar City Radio is sponsored by No Clubs and StateMedia.com. Find out about upcoming concerts in Tampa Bay by visiting StateMedia.com and tagging No Clubs on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Use the hashtag WeAreConcerts.
Next up for No Clubs, Saturday, November 3rd, 2-show night. Alan Stone and Nick Waterhouse at the Ritz Ybor. And then Sebastian Bach has been moved to the White Buffalo Saloon in Sarasota, but tickets purchased for the original State Theater show will be honored. So that's 2-show night, Saturday, November 3rd. Sunday, November 4th, Jonathan Davis from Korn will be at the Orpheum. Friday, November 16th, The Main Squeeze is at the Orpheum. And then Saturday, November 17th, another 2-show night. Atreyu with Memphis Mayfire is going to be at the Ritz Ybor. And then down the street at the Orpheum, you can catch Magic City Hippies and Bay Ledges. Wednesday, November 21st, a 3-show night with Red Sun Rising at the Orpheum, Mayday Parade at the Ritz Ybor, and across the bay at Janus Live, VNV Nation will be there. So Wednesday, November 21st, big night, 3 shows. Should be a lot of fun. Which one are you going to go to? Tuesday, November 27th, Minus the Bear will be at the Ritz Ybor. And closing out a very busy November, Friday, November 30th, Little Xan is going to be at the Ritz Ybor. And that should be pretty turned. Also, just announced No Name, January 18th. Lots of cool shows announced for next year. Go on to statemedia.com and check all those out. We'll be telling you all about them in future eps. Welcome to a special Halloween episode of Cigar City Radio. The song you just heard was Double Wide by the band A Deer, a Horse. It was recorded at Silver Cord Studios, the home of French metal pioneers Gojira, and it's part of some new music that A Deer, a Horse is releasing, and it's super kick-ass. A Deer, a Horse is actually the latest band to join the Cigar City management family, so we're happy to have them as part of our roster, and you'll hear more from them soon. But in the meantime, find A Deer, a Horse on your favorite streaming service and listen to that track Double Wide now. I'm your host, Randy Ojeda, and making the magic happen, a haunted Jason Solanas.
Ooh. You ever wonder what a would feel like? Or whatever.
I think they explored that in the first season of American Horror Story. Actually,
I have not seen.
You got to watch it. You got to watch it.
I don't know. I don't want to, man. Just the cover freaks me the fuck out.
But you know what I just realized, Jason?
What did you just realize?
This podcast has no windows and no doors, which offers you this chilling challenge to find a way out. Of course, there's always my way. Our guest on this episode is Fernando Ribeiro from Portuguese metal band Moonspell. Moonspell is one of 3 metal bands to have a #1 album on the Portuguese charts. The other 2, Iron Maiden and Metallica. So essentially, Moonspell is the biggest metal band to ever come out of Portugal. We had a blast meeting Fernando, who met us at Dysfunctional Grace Art Company in Ybor, and seeing him in that store was like seeing a kid in a candy store. Dysfunctional Grace sells these awesome hats and t-shirts that say Tampa, but the T is an upside-down cross. And if you head to the Moonspell Instagram page, you can actually see Fernando wearing that hat because he picked up a hat and a t-shirt and was totally stoked about that. if you want to be as metal as Moonspell, you can pick up that Tampa hat and other one-of-a-kind items from Dysfunctional Grace and Ybor. Check them out. Say hi to Liz for us. Thanks again to Fernando for spending time with us. This is a tremendous interview with some really unique insight from a metal pioneer. Moonspell just released a massive DVD, Blu-ray, 3 CD live collection called Lisboa Under the Spell, which you can pick up via Napalm Records. It seriously kicks ass, just like this band. So here it is, episode number 86. Very beautiful Thursday, or no, Friday. I don't even know what day it is.
That happens to touring musicians.
Yeah,
shouldn't happen to you.
No, I know. I haven't been anywhere. I've just been home. So yeah, it's a Friday in Tampa, Florida. We're here at our usual spot, the library of Dysfunctional Grace Art Company, and we're joined by somebody who I'm very excited to have in the room right now. Is Fernando from Moonspell. So welcome, first off, to Tampa. If you don't know, Moonspell is one of the great Portuguese metal bands, maybe the greatest Portuguese metal band. I don't know if that's fair to say.
Well, in the how do you say it, in the Kingdoms of Blind, in the Blind Man's Kingdom, the one I escaped. Now there's a scene. Hi, I'm Fernando from Moonspell from Portugal. We're touring the US, so it's great to be here. This is a lovely place.
Yeah,
I have to say, I love places like this. It's been a while since we've been in Florida. I think more than 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So we're kind of happy to return here.
Yeah,
from Portugal. Yeah.
So I wasn't living here when I had moved away for a while. The last time you were in town, but the first time, I think it was the first time you were in the States, even. And the first time I saw Moonspell was back in, God, it must have been 2003, 2004 when The Antidote had just come out.
Yeah.
I want to say you were on tour with Dimmu Borgir. Is that right?
We had we started touring North America in '99.
Okay, so this was that.
Yeah, with In Flames. And
that would have been a crazy tour to see.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was just like coming. We are from Europe. We are very spoiled there. The metal scene is very respected, great, and even time, being sometimes it's just a little bit even too much for the bands, So when you come to the US, the first tour is always a little bit of a shock because people here want to be entertained. Probably don't want to put you all the drinks there as in your list. So it's a more, but I think it's good because it just gets bands really down to earth. So I learned a lot from touring the US. It's a hard nut to crack. I mean, I won't waste your listeners' time saying all stuff about visas, etc. There's a lot of red tape, a lot of questions asked, lots of money paid. But I believe there's many fans here. I'm personally, as someone that was being involved in the 90s metal movement, like the more avant-garde metal with Century Media bands, etc., to come here and to realize there's already a rapport and an history, even with Moonspell that has been here almost 20 years ago. I think that's pretty sweet and pretty awesome because I remember there was just a very limited number of European metal fans in the US when we started.
Yeah.
We got college radios, we got some, the tape trading, the pen friends, etc. But I think that only, how can I say, everyone helped, but it was a fan thing. Fans never actually gave up on European metal, even if promoters were not booking them, these bands like us and others. And nowadays, I mean, we tour the US almost, not on the yearly basis, but almost. And every time I like this tour has probably been the most incredible tour for us, response-wise.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that because I saw you posted on Facebook recently, like yesterday, that this has been such an amazing tour for you. So what do you think is different about this one?
I think finally the US are seeing Moonspell for what they are. And obviously we've been here working hard since almost 20 years. But I don't know why. I don't think that we ever could get our message across like we wanted to. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of things that sometimes lack for us here. not the people, not the fans, but for instance, the knowledge about bands like Sisters of Mercy or Fields of the Nephilim, the whole Gothic scene, And nowadays, I think I don't know why people figured it out better. When we are on stage, more theatrical, etc. So I see a big difference here, and I also see that. As they say, sometimes you don't win over people's hearts in 1 or 2 tours. Unfortunately, folks, it's not like just coming here, and being here for a couple of months. No, it takes years, and nowadays we can see that. We were very lucky in being also with a great musical package. I think that helps a lot.
Yeah, it's a great tour. I mean, with Amorphous and Dark Tranquility, and
people in Europe are very jealous about this.
I'm sure
about this package, because all these bands are very established in Europe somehow. But I think it just works. And as a musician and as a performer, I'm much more inspired when I like the band's music than when not. And that happens. I mean, we should be friends on tour, but sometimes it's just not into, the band who's headlining or the band who's supporting you, just not into their music. So yeah, I see a difference. I don't want to get too hopeful here. But I talk with our agents in the US and I say, well, what can we do more? They say, just come on tour. I say, all right. And we were almost like thinking the band, should we, go to the US? Should we pay all this money? Is it cool? Do we have fans? Do the fans support us? And the question is yes. And I was asking this question back at home, totally stupid. We got to ask this question when you're here.
Yeah.
And I think that's totally worth it. And what we saw, it could be like a door closing slowly to bands such as Moonspell actually become exactly the opposite, just because of live music and the way people are discovering us, even especially our fans, but also the other band's fans.
Yeah, that's right on. And I think it's cool because you just released the live album, right? The Lisboa Under the Spell.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen the full video. I've heard the album, but the clips that I've seen, the couple songs that I've seen, it's like you have this amazing audience there. That's everybody's singing along and chanting along. So tell me a little bit about that album actually first. Like, where was that recorded? How did that come together?
Yeah, it's a hometown gig in Portugal, in Lisbon, Portugal capital. We really wanted to make a stacked up DVD because with all due respect, I think sometimes the fans get the short stick when it comes to live releases. And why? Because it's live at this or the other festival, which is awesome, but it's not your show. It's not your crowd. It's everyone's crowd. It's everyone's show.
Yeah.
So it took us a little longer because in the meanwhile, we had this Portuguese album, 1755, in between. And then we kind of postponed the DVD. But it was good at the end because it gave us more time to think about it. So we could organize the show in Lisbon, our hometown, with all that crowd.
Yeah.
And obviously, they went to the show, but they're Portuguese, so they wanted to show up at the DVD as well. And that counts because there's not a lot of people recording DVDs in Lisbon, and I think it totally fit. And then me and the director, we had the idea of making this really complete with a 3-hour show. So you need the time.
It's a whole thing for sure.
Yeah, you need the time to watch it because we did our little song remains the same trick over there because I think what's good for the fan, even though it's stacked up with content and bonus stuff and 3 hours, a little bit over 3 hours of show. There's also this documentary that is like just transports you from the off stage to on stage, and it's cool because it's made like a little movie. So I think bottom line, we got away with this release. And I think it was great that we spent so much time and energy to do something that was big and massive and triple, and people were like, what's going on with this? And they loved it so more. And our label is crazy about it because also, these things normally don't sell. And our DVD is just like, even on that aspect of things, it's selling so well. It broke the charts in Portugal, in Germany. I don't know. We've been together for 26 years, so we have a notion of time that probably younger bands still don't have. It's all about the end game, the planning. And I'm glad that we postponed this DVD a couple of years in order to make a new album as well, because we actually gained experience and that actually affected the final result of the DVD. It's out now. Mm-hmm. It's distributed in North America, which is also, a great thing, and sometimes not as easy as people think. And obviously, we have it at the merch booth.
Yeah, and it's a big set, right? Because there's the albums and the vinyl and everything, right?
Yeah, so it's called Lisboa Under the Spell, Lisbon Under the Spell. It's a very simple name.
Yeah.
And the DVD edition, there was this ultra special thing with the flag, but it's sold out. So
of course.
Yeah. So what we have now, it's a pack. We call it a DVD pack because when you buy it, you get a 5-disc set. So DVD and Blu-ray. So we could at Napalm, our label is very smart to have both formats because it's a lot of confusion, people, and then it works everywhere. And also there's the 3 bonus audio, because we can't forget that besides all the contents, it's also a live album. So you got to have music there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So let's back up a little bit. So tell me a bit about what it was like growing up in Portland as a metal fan. I mean, what was the scene like as you were growing up? What's metal like in Portland, or not in Portland, in Portugal?
Yeah,
I know what the metal scene's like in Portland.
I've been in Portland. Is that a metal scene? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Of course there is. We just actually we skipped Portland this tour, but we've been there a couple of times. Well, Portugal was a country from South Europe, and obviously Portugal probably is not the most known country in the world, but we had like a fascist dictatorship from 1924 to 74. So all things that happened here in the States, like the hippie movement, the rock movement, the 70s, didn't happen in Portugal. We had just glimpses of it through the press, which was censored. So I was born in 74. And I was born in a time that everybody was listening to music. Good or bad, it didn't matter. We had to catch up.
Yeah.
80s, it's one their hits like Rick Astley, Black Sabbath, Survivor, anything went in the 80s and in Portugal. So I quite got drawn into heavy music. And obviously there was a local scene with punk bands, with some metal bands. As well. Obviously, I think in that time we liked them because they were Portuguese, because they were not as good as the American, German, or Swedish bands. And also they had a problem, in my opinion. I was always very critical towards the Portuguese scene. They wanted to be the Portuguese Machine Head, Portuguese Sepultura, the Portuguese Metallica, the Portuguese Maiden. And there was not many bands trying to do something outrageous and original. And then we came back a little bit with that idea, because we were born in the underground scene. People were different. They had different options. They didn't want meat and potatoes. With all due respect, they wanted something adventurous. A lot of albums like fusing metal with psychedelic, etc., were coming out in Europe. So things changed a little bit. But there was great bands in Portugal like Tarantula, Evanwood, The Coven, which was like this doomy band. But they are so special and so rare. Like yesterday, we were just hanging out at a hotel watching old YouTube metal videos from Portugal, laughing as well, of course.
Yeah.
Taking the piss. And we were there on those videos as well. So yeah, there's a scene. It's not a big scene, but there's a scene existing there since the late 70s, yeah. That's
really cool. So at what point did Moonspell come together and break into that Portuguese scene?
Well, we came together... It sounds stupid, but we were like tape traders, and we had a fanzine, and people are always asking, is there any good black metal, any good occult dark metal music from Portugal? And we said, no. So we said, let's make a band like this.
Yeah,
I think that's what drove us, was also being able to have something to trade against all the amazing dark and underground music we discovered throughout the tape trading. So I think that was the main goal. Because we couldn't play, we couldn't handle our instruments, we couldn't even afford the instruments. It was very hard in Portugal to be like a metal band back then if you didn't have like money from your parents or whatever. I mean, that's typical in every
that's the
corner
case.
of the world.
Yeah.
So that happens to us as well. But then we just got, we were called Morbid Goth before Moonspell, just for a couple of, like 2 years. And there was this vinyl compilation coming out with the most promising like Portuguese heavy metal scene bands called The Birth of a Tragedy. And we went there in 99, already still as Morbid Goth. And we just sent a rehearsal tape and went to the studio. And that's how things started kicking out, because even in Portugal, some people really hated our guts. But a lot of people were very fascinated about it because we had the guts to do something in a Catholic country, etc. That was a little bit different, more pagan, more occult, while everybody was kind of beating around the bush. And I think that novelty, let's say, effect really helped Moonspell to get a lot of attention in Portugal as well.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. And I think that's kind of what, later on, obviously, eventually you got picked up by Century Media, and that's, I think that's where you started breaking through everywhere else, because
that made all the difference.
Yeah, because what I used to do when I was younger is I would get the Century Media catalog and I would go through and find this album looks really cool, or I'm going to get this Iced Earth record or whatever, and then I would order them and then they would come in. And I went to Catholic school at the time, so when I saw like Moonspell and The Antidote and that album cover, and I was like, this is like really, I was rebelling against all that at the time.
This might not be Catholic.
No, this is not. But I want to see what's going on. And then I think what really drove me to the band was that the fact that it was very heavy, but on top of that, there was also this like rhythmic element, and at the time I didn't know the band was Portuguese, but I've always wondered if that sort of rhythm came from, more traditional like Portuguese music, or if that was just something you were just adding,
Portugal is a big influence for us, not only musically, but also it's the place, our mojo is over there.
Yeah.
It's Portugal is an old country in Europe. It has like almost 900 years of history with all that details, earthquakes, natural disasters, love and death stories. It's like, big, like centuries of monarchy, etc. And also culturally and musically, it was a country that's being, at the tip of Europe, we always got a lot of connection with everyone else in the world, overseas, Africa, etc. So growing up in Portugal is growing up also in a culture of diversity, let's call it this way, and we definitely embraced it with our music. Sometimes our options might seem a little bit odd to the fans. Why is this rhythm like this? Probably if you just did it like this, it will be a bit more commercial, whatever. But I think Moonspell is together besides the touring because we have the chance of being creative and getting away with it. So far, so good.
Yeah.
You never know with the next album, but we never take anything for granted. And we like to change. The bands that have inspired us, like Bathory, Celtic Frost, Typo Negative, there were always bands that were never just, of course, they had their style, but they were always open to let's call it, some people call it progression, regression. It doesn't matter, it really boils down when you are a musician or not. And it really boils down to the way that you relate to music. If you relate to this as a job, of course, you want to stick to your guns, give your best, just learn to do very well that kind of metal. Or you can be a bit more loose with your music like Moonspell does, and just change here and there without losing the characteristics. So
yeah,
I think Century Media back then was looking for bands like this, and they were very, very important, not only for Moonspell, but also to take, just the attention of, with all due respect, it was only, German bands, Anglo-Saxonic bands, Scandinavian bands that got signed. The Century Media quite brought that exotic elements, bands from Greece, bands from Portugal, bands from Israel.
Yeah.
And they were quite famous because of it. And they had success because of it, because the albums of these bands, like our albums or Orphan Land albums or Rotten Christ, were successful, and they helped the label to grow to what they are these days as well.
Yeah. No, that's very true. Because, when you think about black metal, you think Norway or Sweden or, the Scandinavian black metal scene, but yeah, there's all this other stuff going on in Europe and in the States too that people don't really,
No, people just focus. Of course, we love the Scandinavian bands.
Yeah.
These guys are very good,
Yeah, you're on tour with a couple of them now,
They're born with the, metal in their ears. It's like metal is a mainstream music over there. You go to Sweden and in Spotify, like the most popular music is metal.
Yeah.
They invented Spotify, and metal is just like bigger than hip hop, which is something that doesn't happen, unfortunately, quite often in any country. So Portugal is different. Like, of course, we tour with the Scandinavian bands, and sometimes it's like, you guys just lost a guitar player. They have another one just next door. In Portugal, to find a good guitar player, we'll take us auditions. We'll have to go through the people. We'll have to say, can you tour? Touring is like this.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, that's interesting because you've had a lot of guitar players. Like
no, we had
the
a
years.
lot of bass players.
A lot of bass players. Well, that's what it always is, right? It's always a rotating bass player.
It depends on the band.
Yeah.
You know, singers are more complicated, but some bands rotate singers as well.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we've been together since 92. The four of us, Ricardo, me, Pedro, and Mike, have been together since 95, you know, and our bass player that is finally a keeper, you know, is also with us since Antidote. So it's also 15 years within Moonspell, and it's a very stable lineup. When you compare, for instance, to the Scandinavian bands, they change a lot, also because they have more to choose from.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And in Portugal, it's not that, and we like, it depends, you know, for us, Moonspell is like a little family. And when someone goes out, it's important. It's because something shitty happened, you know, or that we didn't, could be many reasons. Yeah, but our thing has been with the bass players, but we only had 3 in 26 years, so
that's pretty good.
Yeah,
that's not it's not Spinal Tap levels.
No, if
or
we
anything.
have 9 or 10. And the guitar players, they switch a lot. You know, it's sometimes it's not that everybody can do it, but there's a lot of guitar players in the metal scene, more guitar players than anyone else.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, we talked a little bit about the live album, but yeah, last year too, you had the full length album, the 1755, which was awesome, and I loved how, you know, you're talking about evolution and progressing of the sound, and I feel like in that record you kind of took it in an even more operatic and theatrical direction, you know, than you had before. Was that a conscious decision?
Yeah, definitely. It was a concept album. Actually, we were not planning on doing it. We were touring and we were working on a DVD. And then Napalm entertained the thought, let's beef up the DVD with some new music. And I was like, I like the idea of new music. It always rings wonders to my ears. But I didn't like the idea of having yet another bonus for the DVD. So I had this idea that when I was in high school in Portugal, in Portuguese history classes, we learned a lot about this earthquake, 1755, and how it was important. Well, much more than the death count and all the aspects of the natural disaster, it also changed a lot, the way people approached God in Europe. You know, that famous sentence, whatever is right, didn't apply anymore, because Lisbon, one of the most God-fearing country capitals, just fell down. So people were like thinking, is there a God? Where is he? You know, that kind of questions. And obviously that affected a lot the way Catholicism in particular was perceived in Europe. Some people say that 1755, this earthquake in small Portugal, was probably the beginning of modern atheism, you know, because people lost the confidence in God. So it was too good not to write about it, I have to say.
Yeah, no, it's an amazing concept.
Especially because it happened in our country. And it wasn't such a hard decision to do it in Portuguese. I wanted to do it in Portuguese. Obviously, I have thought that people won't understand it. But anyway, my accent in English is so thick that probably people won't understand English, so we had nothing to lose. So I think that it went really well in Portugal and in Brazil, you know, the main Portuguese-speaking countries in the world. But then we started touring in Russia, and they love history over there and metal. And we had like more people than what we have in the last tours, which were already a lot of people in Moscow, St. Petersburg. Then we toured with Cradle of Filth, and then we ended up here as well, you know, singing in Portuguese and getting away with it, which I think it's cool, because even though it's in Portuguese, people know there's a story over there. And I think that metal fans, they really like, you know, to be told a story. Let's put it this way. I'm always been a sucker for concept albums like Abigail or Power Slave, you know, thematic albums. I love that. Yeah. It's also an opportunity to find more about these or the other subject. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I agree. I think metal fans like being kind of immersed in maybe not even just the story, but just a theme of an album, you know?
I think that works pretty well, especially on the live context. People like to, like I say, to be entertained by something a little bit out of the ordinary. Of course, some bands, get away, with just their Bermuda shorts, but some other bands have to do other stuff as well, be more theatrical. And I think there's open-mindedness enough for metal to embrace both the rubber ducks or the Dr. Plague masks. Yeah, I think that the metal is prepared for everything.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's one of the things I love about metalheads in general is just that how open everybody is to everything. Like I think it's a really surprisingly inclusive scene. Metalheads are really friendly and some of the smartest people I know.
It's true, and I still can't comprehend why people are still shocked and surprised about it. It's because they never frequented like a metal festival, etc. Not wanting to put stuff into other kinds of music, but even in Portugal, even in small Portugal, sometimes like hip hop or African pop concerts, people are just there, and sometimes there's problems. And while in the metal shows and festivals, everything is so cool. The atmosphere is so cool. People go there, for the friends, for the music, for the beer. So yeah, there's a lot of misconception about what you see as a behavior, headbanging. People,
yeah. Well, people see the pit and they think it's violent, but like if somebody gets knocked down in the pit, there's 10 people there to pick them back up.
It's as violent as a shamanic ritual or a yoga wheel or something like that. It's kind of a ritual. Yeah. So you can see it like as violence, more as liberation, in my opinion. Definitely.
Yeah, I'm definitely hip to that. So, like I said, the last time I saw Moonspell was 2003. So it's been a long time since I've seen Moonspell. So I'm going to the show tonight. What can I expect? What's changed in the last 10, 15 years of Moonspell?
Well, a lot has changed, not the songs. I think every time, every year, even though right now we are not like, as young as 15 years ago or something, I think we became a better band live, much more focused, much more knowing what to do. And even though it's a package tour, so we have a limited time, I think that in our stage time, we can fit a little bit of the Moonspell history, definitely, with the 8 songs we're playing. But also we start with what we call pure metal theater. So if people come to the show, try to catch also the 3 first songs, because those are 1755 songs. And people, I was like, first time I went on stage, all with the hat and the long coat, and say, maybe I'm overdressed for the States. But then I say, well, this is the States, this is a country of entertainment. So let's do it. And every time or every day, people like that. Especially because the older fans find a new confidence, and people that never saw us, they are like, well, I haven't seen anything like this. They could hate it, but fortunately and luckily enough, they are really enjoying. So it's very intense. It's very Portuguese. A lot of thing happens in the 45 minutes. And after all, it's a great night. Of course, I'm the Moonspell singer, but it's not only about Moonspell. I think there's a great atmosphere on this tour, and even though we are not really competing, everybody puts a kick-ass show, so the level is up there. So nobody's really like stalling on this tour, because they know the 4 bands are they deliver it live, so nobody can really like having a bad night. That's not gonna happen.
It makes you raise your game, because
the bar is high on this tour. Not that everybody's competing for space. I mean, we all, get in bed with each other and drunk a couple of hours. But when it comes to the shows, everybody's taking it very seriously. And great shows. I've watched all the band's shows except Moonspell, of course. But I think people are really giving their maximum, and people are happy when you see the response. The fans are happy because they spend their ticket money wisely. Yeah, there's many shows coming to the US, and a lot of people picked up this one.
Yeah, no, I mean, this has been, in the metal forums and stuff and on Reddit, like this is one of the tours that everybody's just, really excited about. So thank you for coming to Tampa. First off, I know it probably wasn't your specific choice, but we
have to go. Tampa and Florida. Florida's been really good for Moonspell all the time. It's been a couple of years since we first played here, and it's just great, because don't forget we come from Portugal, so everything is quite exotic for us as well.
Yeah.
What US people feel about us, it's likewise as well. It's like 2 or 3 years ago, whatever, I was just working on a service station. There was some gators around and living freely, minding their own business. And I think that's cool. That's also the opportunity of traveling, especially making that connection. Imagine Florida and Portugal.
Pretty different places.
Yeah, pretty different places. We also have the coastline and the beach life, etc.
Yeah.
But it's very different, and still people connect to us. And I think that's weird by one side, but on the other side is very like... it's like it doesn't matter the fact we are from Portugal or bad English or whatever, but people just connect. We were talking about metal, and that's something that puzzles me very much. Sometimes, of course, we have fans in Florida, so it's great to be back here in Tampa. Tampa is also, I'm always been a sucker for Florida death metal.
Of course,
so
yeah.
Has always been in my radar.
Yeah.
In a way, I have to say, even prefer American or Florida death metal to the Swedish death metal.
You hear that? You hear that, listeners?
I have more records, Obituary, Death, Morbid Angel.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Malevolent Creation. I mean, you name it. We've been listening to this death metal genre in Portugal, all the Scott Burns production. So that's what, besides the Gators, etc., that was our Florida culture as well, based upon the great special death metal bands you guys had here. Yeah,
cool. Well, that's a great export for us to have. Is fantastic Florida death metal. So you had a day off yesterday. What did you guys do on your day off?
Well, we went to Cracker Barrel.
Oh, okay. And, have you ever been to a Cracker Barrel?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
But not the sweets. So they were a bit shocked. There was no alcohol served. Let's have lemonades and sweet tea for a change.
Yeah.
But our TM George is a Portuguese guy, and Portuguese guys like to eat. Yeah. So when we come to the States, it's also like it's like a food adventure. It's like Portuguese man versus food. That's American food. So Cracker Barrel, it's just something that we've done. I mean, we're not that wimpy, We've done other stuff on tour as well. On this tour, getting drunk, raising hell, etc.
Of course.
The other day, I had to jump a fence because with barbed wire, because I was in a bar and I was too late for the bus call, and everything was deadlocked. So me and Mike, we just jumped the barbed wire fence with the help of Dark Tranquility bass player Anders, God bless him, and the merch girl Nicole. So we did that. But yesterday we just took it easy. We went like a big dinner break, like family ties. Everyone, Dark Tranquility, Moonspell and crew, everyone in the Cracker Barrel, everybody looking at us, everybody thinking we are from England.
Yeah.
And it was just awesome. And then we just went there, laundry, Walmart. Basically, it's like that. Or sometimes in other days off, it really depends what's the plan. And normally the TM wants us to rest.
Yeah.
So that's why we've been in Crestview, and we bypassed New Orleans, which was a little. We could have made it. And I had days off there, and believe me, I wasn't eating pancakes and drinking coffee, and or Pensacola. That will be awesome as well. But the plan was to rest, to have these Florida dates also together and strongly, because it's the last weeks of the tour. You don't want to slack down and slow down.
Yeah.
So that's what we did, and we had a marvelous meal. I had meatloaf. I'm a meat eater. And I love that meatloaf. It was first time in a month that I had something that actually was cooked probably by someone and not processed.
Yeah,
machine,
yeah. That's always nice on tour when you can have an actual meal. You know?
That was the plan yesterday. There was the whole plan was dominated by Cracker Barrel. Anything else you did, you just had to be there at 7:30 for a dinner call.
Yeah. Those are the coolest days on tour where it's like everybody do your own thing and let's just meet at this time and, everybody else do it.
It was funny because we, wolfed down. We were very hungry, of course, with the walk and everything because we are in a tour bus, so with so many people, it's hard to get Ubers and taxis just to go around, like 5 minutes. So we walk everywhere, which is an adventure.
Especially in Florida.
Yeah, because we can get arrested by jaywalking. And we're always jaywalking everywhere, because we cross like freeways, etc. Like a bunch of people, 14 people are honking at us. We can say, hey, we can do anything because we cannot take the tour bus, everywhere. It has to be parked. So that's this... There's always an adventure with crossing here, and then sometimes it's just like a walking distance, but you have to go somewhere to find something like more pedestrian friendly.
Yeah,
but that's the States. Everybody drives everywhere. That's what
true.
That's what I get. And in Europe, everybody kind of walks everywhere.
Yeah. Well, definitely, like I said, if you have some time before the show, this street that we're on now, 7th, is a great place. This whole area is awesome.
First time Food Central.
There's great food around here if you're looking for
Sunday's Delicatessen right there. Right. Some of the best sandwiches there. If you ask for the Hangover Hero, it has eggs, hash browns, sausages.
Like a breakfast sandwich.
It's a breakfast sandwich, but it's like that long.
All right. I got to take a couple of Portuguese there.
Yeah.
I'm going to check out this place because this place is amazing.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Dysfunctional Grace is the best.
Dysfunctional Grace, yeah.
So much cool stuff.
There's not
here.
enough places like this in Portugal. There's some places, but people are just a little bit afraid of alternative culture sometimes. And they don't want to open shop or a business. But I'm always like traveling and seeing places and taking tips. Yeah, because now I have a small book and record label in Portugal called Alma Mater Records.
Okay, yeah.
Books.
One of my favorite songs too, Alma Mater. Yeah.
So we printing stuff and also helping to overcome this little gap that we had by alternative culture. So
well, Liz here at Dysfunctional Grace is not shy to alternative culture, as you can tell.
I can see that. We're surrounded.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff in here, and it's cool because we always do our podcast here, and we don't always do metal bands, so like we do a mix of genres, but like we had Goat Whore here and stuff, and like when we get the metal bands in, it's like okay, they understand what we're working with here. This is
we definitely do.
Yeah. When I told Liz we were having Moonspell, she was like, "Yeah, I love the name. That's perfect."
Cool. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, definitely. So we're pretty much out of time. Just wanted to see if you wanted to add anything or any final thoughts for our listeners.
Well, I just want to thank you for the interview for bringing us here to the show. Also, I have to extend the thanks to all the people and the fans that have came to this tour, bought a ticket, bought the merchandise. Because in the end of the day, we can read a lot about metal, about the scene, about how hard is European bands having a hard time coming here. But like I say, it all boils down to the fans, and people still support this. Even when the bands do not play here, we always have people from the States, like, when are you guys coming here, buying our stuff from overseas? And we're always trying to work hard also to provide them with a good Moonspell like coverage and spread over here, because sometimes you guys get the short stick, like special editions. Oh, there's no special US edition.
No.
You know what I mean?
We got to import it. Yeah.
So we try to balance things, and I think it's very important, like all the love and all the respect we've been getting on the road. That's very inspirational for us. So like I say, we are already entertaining the idea of coming back to the US and play a little bit longer, because that's what the fans and the people who discover us would like us to do. So it's a bit step by step. It's not starting over again, because we can't forget we've been touring here for almost 20 years.
Yeah.
So I just want to say thanks to everyone who's listening and send a big Portuguese hug under the spell.